The guys I know here on this beat that are here every single day, they told me to a man this was the worst day that the Chiefs offense has had in training camp. But a big part of it should be a positive, and that's the defensive line and what I saw out of that group up front. I had a chance to talk to General Manager Brett Veach after practice for a little while, and he clued me in saying that he believes this is the best training camp of Chris Jones's career. That is how good he has looked. Now let's sum up what the differences are in Chris Jones coming into this season as opposed to years past. We know after Aaron Donald, he might be the best interior pass rusher, but he's going to line up on the outside as well. They're playing him at defensive tackle. They're playing him at defensive end. He did a bunch of yoga this offseason. Started eating more fish, lost 20 pounds, he told me, and I saw him using that bend on the outside on a sack getting around Lucas Niang, who's starting at that right tackle spot. And Chris Jones's ability to be more flexible is because they brought in Jaron Reed, which is a sneaky signing on the interior of this defensive line, and Veach told me he has had a very strong camp as well. And back to Chris Jones, guys, he told me, when I study defensive ends, what do? I went back to 2015 to 2018 to study my favorite player ever, J.J. Watt. He went and watched all that film of Watt back then and studied a couple recent guys, too, in the Bosa brothers and Cam Jordan and Myles Garrett. I think those are pretty good guys to look after if you want to start rushing from the outside.
Yeah, and when you talk about a guy like Chris Jones, I mean, it's going to be essential to watch him move around that defensive line because we already know what he can do when he's lined up over top of guards and centers. But, you know, you're right, James. Because he lost that weight, now he's a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. He can bend a little bit more, and it's nothing like as an offense that comes out and they don't know where the most dominant pass rusher is. That's the reason a guy like Aaron Donald has so much success, because he's not just in the middle of that defensive line for the Rams. He moves around, and so therefore they have to move the protection, and sometimes he'll just be a decoy in that defense, and it'll open it up for somebody else to make a play. But James, I want to ask you a question about this secondary, because you're there watching this practice. How has that secondary looked? You know, I know they got some first-rounders that were recycled back through the rotation, and a guy like Mike Hughes, who I absolutely loved coming out of college, just didn't work out in Minnesota for some reason. DeAndre Baker, we know the kind of, you know, the history he's had, the kind of troubled history he's had. But these are two talented players who comes in at their third and fourth potential corner spots, possibly even fifth, because you got a guy like Fenton who plays that slot.
Yeah, D-Hall, that's one group to really watch, and mainly because you want to see them battle against these receivers, right? If you have that group going one-on-one on the other field, I know a lot of people want to see offensive, defensive line. They very rarely, the big uglies, put the pads on, right? You want to see it. But I was watching the other field because when you're a DB, how much better are you getting each practice when you have the speed of Tyreek Hill, the speed of McCole Hardman? You know, you have Travis Kelce, you have all these weapons, you know, and Demarcus Robinson, and you have Byron Pringle, and you have, you know, all these different weapons that Patrick Mahomes is trying to find. How much better can you get as a unit? And really it starts with the guy who leads that whole